Finally, my last book review in the Gemmell saga. This is The Swords of Night and Day, a novel of Skilganon the Damned, as said by the tagline of the book. And this truly follows the state of advertisement. This is Skilganon's book. Basic backstory real quick. This book takes place 1,000 years after the events of White Wolf. What has happened in that time? Now, this is obviously Gemmell's last book because he completed it 2 years before his death. Let me describe it before I get into the story. All other 10 books in the Gemmell saga, barring Winter Warriors the most, the other 9 books bounced off of each other with tie-ins and references to events that would happen before or events that happen after. Gemmell's jumping around the timeline truly makes this a series, and this book here culminates damn near everything from the story. Well, not really everything in sense of events, but a lot of answers that are given about things that have happened before and things we kind of had questions about somewhat are answered here. And we also have some repercussions of events that happened way back in White Wolf that are taking place here. Alright, so to the story. Skilganon has been dead for 1,000 years now, and in this book, the land is ruled by this magical queen who calls herself the Eternal. And one thing I did forget to mention about the Winter Warriors was the joinings in here. They are brought back into this book, but they have been drastically changed. Picture them more like the Rajnor from Hero in the Shadows, but a lot more vicious. They're called Geomeds in this book, and they're basically her shock troops of enforcing her order, because she's built like this huge empire over the land. We're not really told specifically, like, this is around Drennan that this story takes place, but her empire has reached quite far beyond that too. The story where it starts out is that Skilganon comes to in the room of a man named Landis Khan, not quite remembering how he got there, and his memories are fragmented, and he's trying to find himself. Basically, this is just a medieval version of Spawn almost, but it doesn't quite work out that way. Gradually what happens is that Skilganon finds out that he has in fact been cloned. Now, before I read this story, I was afraid that Gemmell would take and completely throw out the medieval aspect to all his books, and this will be like an advanced future, because the book does say that this is an advanced future, and I was expecting like laser weapons and flying spaceships on this, and I was going to be pissed. You can't imagine my relief that when I read this book and it was still set in the medieval setting, so 1,000 years passed, but apparently the people who use the machines of the ancients and a lot of the magic clearly have not learned the lessons that have happened before then. We have joinings in this book. We also are introduced to the concept of reborns. Basically, in this book does follow how White Wolf did with the flashback scenarios, but it's Skilganon trying to piece together his memories. He does find the Temple of the Resurrectionists, but they were not able to specifically regrow his wife as they wanted. They actually used magic in their cloning process instead of science. And the Resurrectionists basically said, we had the sorcery to regrow her body structure and all that, but we don't have the mysticism needed to go to the void and gather her soul. Somewhere at this point, Skilganon was the first success at being brought back, because Ustare gave a prophecy in the prologue of this book that 2 heroes would be most needed to go and take down the Eternal. We're also introduced in this story to 2 other characters. I want to say Ascari is her name. She is a reborn of Gienah. Now remember her real quick, because she's going to play a huge part in what I tell about the Eternal. We also have Herod in this, who is the reborn of Druss. And there's actually an interesting little scenario where being around Druss in the last book kind of helped rediscover the humanity in Skilganon a whole lot more. That's not quite the case in this one. What actually happens is that Druss actually, or Herod in this book, ironically, being sort of descendant of Druss, if you will, winds up learning war tactics and the savage side of his nature a lot from Skilganon, and the dynamic in between those two characters is really one of the better parts of this book. There are tons of characters we're also introduced to. There's one guy whose name I cannot remember who winds up becoming friends with a pack of Geomeds, and he winds up leading them in the final battle of the story. We have a new Earl of Bronze in the story, and there's also some references made to a lot of heroes of the past. Benillion from Winter Warriors. We have a few references to Waylander and a few to Tanaka Khan at the end of this book. And we also have a reference to the War of the Twins, which was supposed to be a book written after Quest for Lost Heroes, but it never was. But we are given the winner to that little war in between the two twin nadir boys from that story. Basically, as the plot of this book continues, Skilganon, Herod, and Ascari have to do something to take down the Eternal. And when they learn more about the nature of how it is that she stays immortal, and more in fact who she is from his past, because what's interesting about this is that a lot of times in sequels you will see twists that come that have to do with something from the first. Actually, who the Eternal is in this one, you don't really see coming until they introduce her character some ways into the book. And I'll just go ahead and spoil it now if you don't want it spoiled for you. Let's skip ahead to about the 7-10 minute mark of this. It's Gianna. She's brought back in this, and basically Skilganon has to work in taking her down, and they have to lead this entire army of the Draenei against the Eternal's followers and take down the Temple of Resurrectionists, because this is the primary means of her keeping her immortality intact, and the methods that she's using to constantly regain bodies, and what she was having Landis Khan do for her when he was still alive. Like I said, this is a huge culmination point in this book, and as far as conclusions go, this is definitely one of the best. A lot of people were afraid that Druss doesn't show up in this book. Druss does show up in this book, quite obviously, after him being dead. He's brought back into this book, and he helps to fight for Herod, or helps fight with Herod. But aside from that, it's a great book. I could keep rambling on about this. If you want a strong way to finish out the series, this is definitely a good book, and it kind of rounds out the entire timeline in a nice sort of way. And the ending that's given to this, I mean, it is kind of sad, because this also plays off of Legend in a way, because not all the characters make it to the end. But I definitely would have liked to have had Gemmell write more about Skilganon, about where he goes on from this now that he finds out what happened in the way that he was brought back and all. And unfortunately, David Gemmell is no longer there to write any more of the series, but all 11 books, after everything is said and done, are definitely worth the read. I highly recommend that y'all check them out, and that's pretty much does it. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy them when you get to reading them.